everyone, I'm Ashley, owner and designer at Kismet Crochet. I'm really excited about today's video tutorial. I'm going to be providing step-by-step directions as well as exact stitch and row counts to show you how to make this Granny Stitch market bag. If you would like a copy of the free PDF of the pattern so you can follow along, that will be linked in the description below. This market bag is so easy, it's so versatile, it's perfect for the farmer's market, beach and pool days, or even as a yoga bag. It has two design options. You can construct the base of the bag without these stripes, which has a very appealing simplicity, or you can add the contrasting stripes detail that twists around the bag and really adds an extra design interest, and you can personalize this with your favorite colors or contrasting colors to individualize your bag. For the Granny Stitch market bag, we're going to be working with this Peaches and Cream 100% cotton yarn. It's a number 4 weight, and this colorway is Oasis. You'll also need some stitch markers, 4 stitch markers. If you have one in a contrasting color, that's really helpful. We're working with 2 hooks, a size H, 5mm, and a size I, 5.5mm, and then some scissors and a tapestry needle just for sewing in those loose ends. So we're going to go ahead and start with our base, our oval base of the bag. We're going to be working with our size H, 5mm hook. Go ahead and take your Oasis yarn, make a slip stitch, and we are going to chain 19. Okay, I've got our 19 chains going. We are going to do 3 single crochet in the second chain from hook. So skip this first chain and do 3 single crochet in the next chain. We're going to pause here, and this is where we're going to first incorporate those stitch markers. So go ahead and take your contrasting marker and mark that first chain, the first of the 3 you just did. And then another stitch marker, which will mark the 3rd chain. And then working down our chain, we're going to do 16 single crochet. So 1 single crochet in each chain. That will be 16, and it'll leave you 1 chain at the end. Okay, we should have 1 chain at the end. We're going to go ahead and count, make sure we got our 16 correct. So after the stitch marker, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. Okay, right on track. And then our last chain, we are going to go ahead and do the same thing. 3 single crochet right into that last chain. Go ahead and pull out your hook. We're going to now incorporate our other 2 stitch markers, 1 in the first of those 3 single crochet and 1 in the last we just made. And so what these are going to be doing, these are going to be really helpful because they are going to be marking our increases. It's a little hard to see at this point, but our stitch increases are always going to be on the ends of our oval. Each time we're going to be doing single crochet down each side for a total of 16 stitches. This will always be 16 stitches on each side of your oval. All your increases will happen here on the ends. So these stitch markers are going to be really important. They just make it so much easier for knowing where your increases start and stop. So go ahead, pick back up your hook. And we are going to go and we're going to come all the way around. We're going to be working continuous rounds. This red one was going to mark the beginning of your round. So since we're working in continuous rounds, it really helps to always have a contrasting color just marking the beginning so we know where to start and stop. We're going to go ahead and single crochet down the other side of this chain for also a total of 16. I'm going to count and make sure I got 16 there. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. That's what I thought. I have one more. It's a little bit tricky to see. That's why I always count hidden right there before we hit that stitch marker. Great, so we finished our first round. We've come to that red stitch marker, which is marking the first stitch of the next round. So from here on out, we are going to be working in the back loop only. So go ahead and remove that first marker. We're going to be working 2 single crochets in the next 3 stitches, working in the back loop. Starting our increases right away. Once you get the first 2, go ahead and replace that stitch marker right in that first single crochet. We always want to mark the beginning and the end of those increases. I'm going to go ahead and take this one out and mark that last increase. And now we are just going to be working 16 single crochets right down that side of the oval. And once you get going, the stitch markers are so nice because you don't even have to count. You can just know you're single crocheting down that side and stopping at that stitch marker to work your increases. Okay, we've come to our stitch marker, our first one. Same thing, 2 single crochet in the next 3 stitches. Always remember to replace that stitch marker. And then just single crochet right down that side again. Okay, so I'm coming to the end of my second round. Hitting that stitch marker, we're going to go ahead and take that first one out. Starting round 3, we're going to be doing our increases with 2 single crochet in the next stitch and then 1 single crochet. 2 single crochet in the next stitch, 1 single crochet. We're going to do that repeat 3 times, which will take us from that red stitch marker to our other ending stitch marker for the increases. So go ahead, 2 single crochet and then 1 in the next stitch. Don't forget to put that stitch marker back in. Two single crochet in the next stitch, 1 single crochet, and then the last increase, 2 single crochet, and then 1 single crochet in that last. So we're going to remove the stitch marker and replace it. Okay. Same routine, go ahead and do your 16 single crochets down the side. The same repeat on the other end of the oval, coming back around with 16 single crochets, and we'll meet back up for that round 4 increase. So I'm coming around to the end of my round 3. If you're keeping track of your stitch counts to make sure you're on track, after round 3 you should have a total of 50. As you're looking at this, you can see we have a nice oval shape coming along. We're going to go ahead on to round 4. And round 4 is going to have the same increase repeat as round 3. So 2 single crochet in the next stitch, and then 1 single crochet. Don't forget to replace that stitch marker. So same repeat pattern, 2 single crochet in the next stitch, and then 1 single crochet. We're going to do this, repeat 4 times. And then the difference between round 3 and round 4 is this last stitch of the increase where the stitch marker is. We're going to do 2 single crochet. So 2 last in that one. And remember, these stitch markers are marking the beginning and the end of your increases. So between the stitch markers on the side, this should never change. This between those should always be 16. Okay? So go ahead and do your 16 single crochet down that side. The same repeat pattern on this side, 2 single crochet, 1 single crochet. 2 single crochet, 1 single crochet. 4 times. That's going to leave you 2 single crochet in that last stitch marker. Then come back down that side for the last 16 single crochet, and I'll meet up with you. Okay, I'm coming to the end of round 4. And your stitch count at the end of round 4 should be 60 single crochet around. Starting round 5, we're going to be doing the same stitch increase pattern again. Super easy. So again, a repeat pattern of 2 single crochet in the next stitch, 1 single crochet in the next stitch, 2 single crochet, 1 single crochet. And then get that stitch marker back in there. And this stitch increase pattern you're going to be doing 7 times. 2 single crochet, and then I'll be ending on 1 single crochet right in that same stitch with a stitch marker. And go ahead and take it out and replace it. Same pattern. Go ahead, 16 single crochets around. Same repeat pattern on this side of 2 single crochet, 1 single crochet, a total of 7 times. 16 single crochets down the other side, and I'll meet back up with you at the end of round 5, starting round 6. Coming to the end of round 5, and I'm sure you're totally getting the hang of this by now, pretty repetitive. Go ahead and take a look at your work. I'm really loving this working in the back loop only. As you can see, it kind of leaves this nice edge trim that kind of gives a nice pattern as it goes around. So I really love that. You can start to see your increases coming along. 16 stitches still maintaining there. And we're going to go ahead and start with our round 6. So round 6 increases are going to be a little bit different. Instead of starting with a double, we're actually going to single crochet in the next 3. So 1, I'll replace this before I forget. Oh, that was 1, 2, 3, and then a double, 2 single crochet in the next stitch. That's going to be our repeat pattern. So single crochet in the next 3, 1, 2, 3, 2 single crochet in the next stitch. This is going to be our repeat pattern on each end for round 6. We're going to be repeating it a total of 5 times. 1, 2, 3, 2 single crochet in next stitch. One last time. 1, 2, 3, 2 single crochet in the next stitch. And now we come along to our stitch marker. That leaves us one more stitch with the increase. We're just going to do 1 single crochet in that last. It's not part of our repeat. Go ahead and put that stitch marker right in that last single crochet. And there you have it for your increases for round 6. So same repeat, 16 across that side. Same repeat pattern, which is single crochet in the next 3 stitches, 2 single crochet in the next stitch. That will leave you 1 extra single crochet when you come to that stitch marker. 16 single crochets down that side to meet up with our beginning of round 7. Coming to the end of round 6, And your stitch count at this point should be a total of 84 single crochet around. Next, round 7, super easy, no increases. We're doing 1 single crochet in each stitch around. Don't even have to worry about those increases, but we do want to maintain our stitch markers. So go ahead and make sure when you single crochet in those stitches with the stitch markers, you're still taking them out and replacing them. We still need to maintain those locations there. So just 1 single crochet in every stitch around. When you come to the end of round 7, should still maintain that stitch count of 84 single crochets. Coming around to the end of round 7, this one was super easy. We did a single crochet in each stitch around. Should maintain that stitch count, which is 84 single crochet. So now we are starting round 8. Start with those increases. For round 8, our increase pattern is going to be 2 single crochet, then single crochet in the next 4 stitches, 1, 2, 3, 4, and then a double, 2 single crochet in the next stitch. So we're going to go ahead and start with our 2 single crochet as our first increase. Forget to replace your stitch marker. So we did 2 single crochet. Now we're going to crochet, single crochet in the next 4 stitches. So 1, 2, 3, 4. 2 single crochet in the next stitch. And then single crochet in the next 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 2 single crochet in the next stitch. To start this stitch repeat, we're going to do a total of 5 times. 1, 2, 3, 4, and that will leave 1 more stitch right where that stitch marker is, and we're going to do 2 single crochets in that last one. 2. Replace that stitch marker. So for round 8, we're going to start our increases with 2 double crochet in the same stitch, and then we're also going to end 2 double crochet in that last stitch marker. So again, that repeat for round 8 is going to be 2 single crochet in the next 4 stitches, 2 single crochet in the next 4 stitches. So you're going to do that repeat 5 times, and that will leave you 1 stitch left at the end where you're going to do 2 single crochet in that stitch. Okay, so same technique as every other round. 16 single crochet across that side. You're going to do your increase pattern, and then 16 single crochet meeting up with the end of round 8. Okay, coming to the end of round 8, your stitch count at this point should be 96 single crochet all the way around. We're going to start our round 9, another super simple row. We are just going to single crochet in each stitch around. Again, no increases on round 9. Maintain those stitch markers though. Make sure you take them out and replace them in the same stitch. So single crochet in each stitch around. Go ahead and do that all the way around, and I'll meet back up with you at the end of round 9. Coming to the end of round 9, you should have the same stitch count as round 8, because round 9 you just did single crochet in each stitch around. So ending with a total stitch count of 96 single crochet at the end of round 9. We're going to go ahead and start round 10. The stitch increase pattern for round 10 is going to be 2 single crochet in the next stitch and then single crochet in the next 3 stitches. Go ahead and do 2 single crochet. And then we're going to do a single crochet in the next 3 stitches. 1, 2, 3 and 2 single crochet in the next stitch. 1, 2, 3, 2 single crochet in the next stitch. This is going to be your stitch increase pattern for round 9. For round 10. We're on round 10. You're going to do that stitch pattern, increase pattern, a total of 8 times. 2 single crochet. And then single crochet in the next 3. And this will bring you right to that last stitch marker. Okay, so repeat that on this side. So again, 16 single crochets. You're going to do your increase pattern over here, which again is 2 single crochet in the next 3 stitches. You're going to repeat that pattern 8 times to bring you to this stitch marker, single crochet in the next 16 stitches, and I'll meet up with you at the end of round 10. Okay, coming to the end of round 10, making great progress. Your oval is looking great. At this point, your stitch count should be 112 single crochet around. Starting with round 11, another easy round, we are just going to single crochet in each stitch around. So no increases for round 11. Don't forget to leave your stitch markers intact. You still want to mark those increase stitches. But go ahead and do your single crochet in each stitch around for round 11, and I will meet back up with you at the end. Coming around to the end of round 11, you should have a total stitch count of 112 single crochet around. We're going to go ahead and start round 12, which is the last increase round of our base, our oval base. And then we're going to start making some progress moving forward to creating the bag. So we're going to start round 12 with our increases. This one is not going to start with a double. We're actually going to single crochet in the next 4 stitches and then 2 single crochet in the next stitch. So start with 1, 2, 3, 4, and then 2 single crochet in the next stitch. Do 1 single crochet, 2, 3, 4, and then 2 single crochet in the next stitch. This is going to be your stitch increase pattern for round 12. You're going to do this pattern a total of 8 times. Four and 2 single crochet in the next stitch. 1, 2, 3, 4, and then we're going to end those increases right where that stitch marker is with 2 single crochet in that last stitch. Go ahead and replace your stitch marker. We're going to repeat that pattern. So 16 single crochet across the side. You're going to repeat that increase pattern, which again is single crochet in the next 4 stitches and then 2 single crochet in the next stitch. You're going to repeat that pattern a total of 8 times. That'll have you ending with 2 single crochet in that last stitch marker, single crochet in those last 16 stitches, and I'll catch up with you to start our round 13. Okay, so we're coming around to the end of our round 12, and this was the last main round of our base for our granny stitch market bag. At this point, your stitch count should be 128 single crochet around. Go ahead and measure our base right at about 10.5 inches. If yours isn't 10.5, if it's a little smaller, a little bigger, that's not really a big deal. This is a bag, it doesn't matter. What does really matter is the stitch count. The reason being is we want our clusters to be even. Once we start our market bag sides, we're gonna want an even amount of clusters and an odd amount of spaces, which if our stitch count's off, that's gonna kind of affect that. So really at this point, just check, you want your stitch count to be 128 single crochets. You don't need your stitch markers anymore. If you want to leave them on, that's fine. But actually, let's go ahead and leave our red though. We do want to leave our starting and stopping one. We do have one more round before we start the clusters. So this one's going to be slightly different. We're not doing any increases, but we are going to be stitching in that back third loop. So instead of going in this back loop like we have, we're actually going to turn it a little bit more. I'm going to zoom this so you can see better, but this back third loop, this is the one we're going to be going under. We're going to be doing a single crochet in each stitch around. And like I said, I'm going to go ahead and keep the first one just to really mark where we're starting and stopping. And we're going to do a single crochet in each of that back third loop. So again, it's this one right here in the back. You go under that and single crochet. This is a little bit more slow going because it takes a little bit of time to catch that loop, and it could be a little tighter. We were working this with our size H crochet hook, the 5mm, and the reason why is I did want it to be a little bit tighter. We want a good solid tight base. We don't want it to be really gappy where things can easily fall through. So go ahead and just take your time going all the way around, catching that back third loop, and just single crochet all the way around. Now, if you hate this and it's just driving you crazy that it's a little bit slower, you can do a regular single crochet, that's fine. I do have a reason behind this, and I'll show you in just a second once I get a few more stitches going here. So the reason I like to catch this back third for this row is the bottom of my bag, once it starts, I don't want it to kind of curve up. I want a real defined edge, kind of like an L edge. So doing this back third loop, it's actually going to come up like this. So it's going to allow that wall where you start your granny stitch clusters to really just start building up on the side instead of a gradual curve. I want it just to have a defined edge. So if you can kind of see there, it has a nice edge. And then the other reason is it has this nice, looks like a chain edge on the very bottom of the base of the bag. I think it just looks really nice. I liked the effect it gives on that bag edge. But it's not going to be detrimental if you don't like it. You can definitely adjust it with a regular single crochet in that back loop if you prefer. So go ahead and continue these stitches all the way around. Again, just one single crochet in each stitch, so you should have the same exact stitch count when we're done, which should be 128 single crochet. I will meet back up with you at the end, and then we will start our clusters for our granny stitch market bag, which is going to be the sides, and it's going to be a lot faster going at that point. Okay, so I've come to the end of our round 13, to that stitch marker that was marking the beginning of that round. We're going to go ahead and just go under both those loops and slip stitch right there. Go ahead and take out that stitch marker. We don't need that anymore. And now our base of our bag is complete. You can see that nice oval we've created. We have that nice stitch detail here from going in the back loops only. And then right here around the edge, you can see that trim that looks like a chain. And if I turn it to the side, you can see that edge come up like I was talking about. And as you continue to do your cluster stitch, it's going to raise right up. It's going to build a nice wall straight up on the bag. So going forward, we're going to go ahead and switch to our I crochet hook, 5.5mm. We don't need a stitch marker anymore. The beginning of our rounds are going to start with a chain 3, so it's going to be really obvious. So go ahead and chain 3. This is going to count as a double crochet, so your first double crochet of that cluster. Go ahead and do 2 more double crochets in that same stitch. And there you have your first cluster. Okay, now we are going to be skipping 3 stitches between each cluster. So 1, 2, 3, skipping, and then we're going to do 3 double crochets in the 4th stitch. 1, 2, 3. And from here on out, we are going to be going through both top loops. No more back loop only, no more back third loop. Real quick and easy, we're just going to be going under both those loops. Okay, so again, we are going to skip 3, 1, 2, 3, and in the 4th stitch, 3 double crochet. This is going to be our repeat pattern for the granny stitch bag. Skip 3 and in the 4th. And from here on out, it goes really quickly. So you're just going to keep repeating this pattern. So go ahead and work this all the way around, working 3 double crochet in a stitch, skip 3, 3 double crochet in that 4th stitch, all the way around, and I'll meet back up with you. Okay, so we're coming back around to the end of our first round of the cluster stitch. Work 1 more cluster. And if your stitch count is correct, you'll have 1, 2, 3 skip stitches between where it brings you back to that first chain 3 you made. That first chain 3 is going to count as the first double crochet. So go ahead and slip stitch to the very top chain and pull through. Okay, so this is your completed first round of your cluster stitch. If you count your clusters at this point, you should have a total of 32 clusters. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31, 32. Perfect. From here on out, you're not going to need to count. Everything's going to go really smooth and really quickly. So for the round 2 of our clusters, we'll go ahead and chain 3. You're always going to chain 3 at the beginning of each round, and it's always going to count as your first double crochet of that cluster. So we are going to go ahead and turn your work and work on the other side and do 2 more double crochets right into this space. That is our first cluster of round 2. So from here on out, no more counting stitches to skip them. We're going to be doing our clusters in every space. It's going to be really quick, really easy. So go ahead and do 3 double crochet. There we go, another cluster made all the way around. Go ahead and work your clusters in every space around, and I'll meet back up with you at the end of the second round. Okay, so I'm coming to the end of my second round of the cluster stitch. I'm going to work 1 more cluster into that last space. And then go ahead and join to that top chain that you started with. Slip stitch right there. Chain 3. Now I do want to point out that you could technically work this bag in the round like we did for the base. The only problem with doing it that way as opposed to turning it, which I suggest doing, turning it back and forth, working from front to back throughout, is this chain. So if you work it continually in the round, you'll start to notice this chain, the starting stitch will start floating. It'll start floating over and moving around in your bag. So that's fine in a pattern like this because it's actually camouflaged really well. But in other patterns, it really can hinder the design, what you have going. It can kind of get confusing on the beginning and ends of your rounds. So I do really recommend the flipping from front to back. And in this way, you're just going to go back and forth. So in this round, here's your chain, and then on this round it'll be here. So we'll kind of just stagger up, down, and stay consistently in that same spot. So again, we have our chain 3, and we're going to turn and then do 2 more double crochet in that space. That will make your first cluster. And we are going to repeat this process all the way around, same process, every single round, slip stitching to the top of that chain. And I want you to do this for a total of 23 rounds. So to make it easy, there's 32 clusters and 23 rounds. Go ahead and work on that, and I will catch back up with you at the end of round 23 of the clusters. Okay, we've completed 23 rounds of our granny stitch clusters. We have our nice oval base, our beautiful granny stitch pattern for the sides of the bag, and the next step is to work on the straps. So if you haven't tied that off, go ahead and tie that off, weave in those loose ends. I'm going to go ahead and measure this out for you real quick. And that size should be right at about 11.5 inches. So the first thing we want to do is turn to your base and find the center stitch line right there and follow that right up to the side to that first gap. Go ahead and turn to the side. We're just going to use our finger and we're going to follow this all the way to the top of the bag. And then we're going to go ahead and put a stitch marker. This is going to be marking the side of the bag, the exact side of the bag. We're going to do the exact same thing to the other side. Find that center line, find that center gap, and then just follow all the way up and put a stitch marker marking the other side. And I like to use the same color for the sides and then a contrasting color for the center. So we have our 2 sides of our bag marked. Now we want to mark the center on each side, the center of the bag. So the easiest way to do this is to just line up these stitch markers and then fold, matching up the clusters, right? And that will give us this gap right here, which should be our center point. Go ahead and do the same thing on the other side. Okay, put a stitch marker there. And then once we have these in, it's always good to count just to make sure before we get started. So what we are going to want between the sides and the center, 8 clusters. So let's go ahead and count. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Okay, that's correct. And then on the other side, same thing, center to side, 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Okay, we're good to go there. The other side should be the exact same unless you messed up somewhere on your stitch counts earlier in the bag. But we're going to check just to make sure. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Okay, we are good to go. So go ahead and turn the bag so it's facing you. And we are going to start at one of the center points, one of our red stitch markers. We're going to be going back to our eye 5.5 millimeter hook. And what I want you to do, go ahead and leave that stitch marker there for now. Insert your hook into that space. And using our yarn, we're just going to pull up a loop. And then chain 3. So normally this would be your first double crochet of your cluster, but we are not doing a cluster in this space. We're just doing the chain 3, which acts like a double crochet. We're going to go ahead and go to the next space and do a cluster. 3 double crochet, just like you've been doing all along. So we're going to start with these straps with decreasing those walls right away. So go ahead and continue your clusters. But I'm going to show you here in just a second that this has an angle right here on those chain stitches, and that's what we want. We're going to start doing that every row, so it's going to start having a nice angle, decreasing those stitches up for our strap. So go ahead and do your cluster stitches all the way across until you get to that other red stitch marker. When you get to the side stitch marker, don't worry about it. Go ahead and leave it in there for a little while and just work around it. Not a big deal. Okay, I'm coming close to the end of that row, that first row of the strap. Here's my red stitch marker marking the center. And we're going to want to do one more cluster stitch in that gap before the stitch marker. So go ahead and work your 3 single crochet. And then in this center point where that stitch marker is, we're just going to work 1 double crochet. So not a full cluster, just 1 double crochet. Okay, and that's going to start that reducing stitches, that decreasing that side wall like we talked about. So go ahead and chain 3 and turn your work. Because we're going to be decreasing on every row, I don't want you to go in this first one. Normally we might do 2 more double crochets creating that cluster, but we don't want that. We're going to skip that and go ahead in that next space and do your 3 double crochet cluster. Go ahead and continue that cluster stitch pattern across. I'm going to stop here for a second and show you. So you can see how we're starting to get that angle right there. And that's what we want. It's exactly what we want, because the strap's going to start coming up and narrowing, decreasing those stitches to make that strap. So go ahead and do this all the way across row 2 of your strap, and we'll meet back at the end for our other decrease on the other side. Okay, so I'm coming to the end of my second row of the strap. And remember, we're going to be doing a decrease on both sides every single row. So if you can see, this is our stitch marker and this is that decrease row. So we're going to work 1 more granny stitch cluster in this space. And then that last space where we have our decrease, we're just going to work 1 double crochet right into that space. Go ahead and chain 3 and turn your work. So you can already start to see that slanted edge that we're creating right there. That's great. That's what we want on both sides. We're going to be decreasing every single row of the strap on both sides. So go ahead, skip this first space and work your cluster into the next one. And this is pretty easy to see visually because you can see that slant where that decrease is. But if you have a hard time keeping track of it, feel free to take your stitch marker and just move it up each row. If that's easier for you to see, go for it. So I want you to go ahead and continue this on every single row of the strap. We're going to do the repeat cluster stitch across, and then when we get to the side, we're going to do that decrease. So you want to do this for a total of 15 rows. Row 1 being the first row we started of our strap. And that should leave you on row 15 with 1 cluster, and then you'll have that chain 3 and then the double crochet on each side. So complete 15 rows, leaving 1 cluster, and we'll meet back up for the remainder of the strap. So I'm finishing up our 15th row. This is going to leave us with 1 cluster, and you're going to have a chain 3 on this side and a double crochet on this side. So you can see this nice triangle wedge shape we've created, nice clean edges on the side. And if you turn your bag, you can actually see how this is going to be one of the straps. From here on out, we're going to continue the strap a little bit longer. We're going to maintain that width at this point. We're not going to be doing any more decreases. So go ahead, put your hook back in there, and we're going to chain 3 and turn. So now from here on out, we're going to, like I said, maintain that width. So we're going to go from 1 cluster to 2 clusters. The next row will be 1 cluster, the following row 2 clusters. So right here, we know there's one cluster in this last row. So we're going to go ahead and do 2 in this row. So we're going to do a cluster in this space and a cluster in this space. So that would be 2 more double crochet in this space for your first cluster, and then 3 double crochet, creating your cluster in the next space. Okay, go ahead and chain your 3 and turn. This part's going to go really quickly. So again, 2 clusters in this last row, so just 1 in this middle space. Now we've done this chain 3, just ignore that. That's just going to maintain our side, just like right here when we're doing our decreases, kind of that side wall there. And do your cluster right in the middle. And then go ahead and do a double crochet in this top of that chain 3 right there on that last stitch. Chain 3 and turn. So we're going to just keep repeating this pattern. Like I said, we're going to go 1 cluster, 2 cluster, 1 cluster, 2 cluster. We want to do a total of 9 more rows. So really what's easiest to do is go ahead and put your stitch marker where you got down to 1 cluster. This is row 15. This helps you keep track. We're going to go ahead and do 9 more rows. So that'll have us ending with row 24. And on the end of row 24, you should be ending in 2 clusters. So go ahead and do that, and I'll meet back up with you. Okay, I've just finished 9 more rows, ending in row 24. So here I marked 15, and I said 9 more after that. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. And that should keep you ending in 2 clusters right there. So at this point, go ahead and cut off, leave a decent tail because we're going to use that later. And just pull that through. Do not weave this in yet. We're going to use this to sew the straps together. So now we have totally completed the one side. You can see here the sides of the stitch markers where we started our strap, came up with our triangle wedge, and then maintained that width right there for those 9 rows. Now we're going to do the exact same thing on the other side. But I'm going to go ahead and get you started, and then I'm sure you can just follow that repeat pattern like we've been doing. So go ahead, flip it to the center, and you'll see that stitch marker again. The one that marks the center point. Right. We're going to go ahead, just insert our hook. And just like before, pull up a loop. Same gap. So on that gap, we also started our other strap. We're going to chain 3. So just reminding you where that stitch marker is, we also have that first chain 3 that started. Right on this side, it's actually double crochet, but same concept. Okay. That's all we're going to do in that space. We're going to go forward and just start our clusters. And if you remember from when you started the bag, we're going to be decreasing every single row on the side. So even just starting that one, we started with a decrease because we only did the 1 double crochet, actually the chain 3 that acted like a double crochet in that first stitch. So same steps as the first strap. Go ahead and just work this all the way across. Do your decrease on both sides on every single row until you get to the same spot, until you get to having 1 cluster. After you get 1 cluster, you know we're going to maintain that same width and do 9 more rounds. Okay, same pattern. So go ahead and do that. Work your second strap on the other side, your second triangle strap. And then we will meet up and we're going to connect the straps and then work on the edge trimming. Okay, so I've finished that second bag strap. I've tied it off and woven in those loose ends. Now the next step is going to be to attach the 2 ends of the strap together. So I'm going to go ahead and take the yarn tail that I left from the first strap, and we're going to want to stitch these together, but we want to stitch on the underside. So right here is the front. We're going to go ahead and take the front, the right sides, put right sides together, and then we're just going to take our yarn tail in this tapestry needle, and we're just going to whip stitch these together, and we're going to pull really snug. I always like to put a couple extra stitches right at the edge, because oftentimes I find I finish and I pull it apart and it's kind of gappy there. We want a really good, snug, secure seam. So go ahead and just stitch these together across. Again, I always catch an extra stitch, oops, on the side. So if you don't catch it, see, sometimes it kind of pulls away right there. I want to make sure that doesn't happen. So I'm going to put one more kind of right almost on the side, just catching that. Okay, so when you open it up, it should look nice and clean and secure in the nice line right there. So go ahead and tie that off. And then we're going to weave in those loose ends right there along that seam line. It's pretty tight, so that's good. I know it's going to be nice and secure. Okay, cut that off. All right, you want to make sure your bag strap didn't get twisted in that process. Looking really good. Okay, so the last step to finishing our market bag is we're going to give a nice edge trim here, and then on the other side right here, right on the edge, finishing it off on that strap. It'll also give a little bit of strength to this strap. So you are going to want to start with our size H hook, 5mm, and I like to start right here on near that seam that we just made. So we're going to go ahead, and what we're going to be doing is we're going to be doing extended single crochets all the way around. So we are going to start all the way around, and then it's going to come to that inverted V, back around and connect. So we're going to actually be working into the sides of these double crochets, or they may be chains, and into these spaces. So first, insert your hook just anywhere right there towards that middle, and pull up a loop. Okay, and chain one. So what we're going to want to do is in every side of this cluster, or a side of a double crochet, we're going to do 2 extended single crochets. I know that typically you chain 3, but doing 3 makes it a little wide. It's just a little too much, too many stitches. So go ahead, and it doesn't matter exactly what stitch, just try and catch one that's easy to catch. Those side ones are a little tricky. Just insert your hook like you would a normal single crochet. Yarn up, pull up a loop. But for the extended single crochet, we're not going to go through both. We're going to yarn over, pull through 1, yarn over, pull through 2. Okay, so we're still on that side of that double crochet. So we're going to do one more. I'm going to catch this stitch right here. Yarn over, pull through 1, yarn over, pull through 2. Now we've reached our space. So in the spaces, we're going to work 3 extended single crochet. So 3 extended single crochet, and then in the side of the cluster, 2 extended single crochet. So just go right there in the loop. You don't have to worry about catching the stitches. These ones will go really fast and easy. And one more. yarn over, pull through 1, yarn over, pull through 2. Okay, now we've come to another cluster, the side of the stitch. So remember, we're just working 2. So again, it doesn't matter exactly where. Just try and grab one that's easy to catch with your hook. They're a little bit tighter. Okay, now we've come to the space and 3 extended single crochet. Okay, take that out so you can start to see. I haven't gotten too far, but it gives a nice edge trim, kind of secures it. It's going to add some strength to that strap, which is going to be really nice, and just gives a more finished look to your piece. Now we're going to keep doing that pattern, but as you see, when we get down right here where it starts angling for that triangle shape, you're just going to have spaces. So we just have a couple more stitches where we're going to have 2 extended single crochet in the sides of these clusters. When you get down to here, every single one's going to be a space. So we're going to be doing 3 extended single crochet in every single space. We're going to do that and come to this V, the bottom of that V, where it connects to your bag, where that stitch marker is, and that's where we're going to pause, and I'm going to meet up with you. So go ahead and work that, and I'll meet up with you right there at that stitch marker. So I've come down the side of that bag strap. You can see that extended single crochet trim is really just making it look really nice, giving it a finished look. And I'm right here to the bottom of that V where it connects with the bag. Remember where we first put that stitch marker marking the center? So I have one more space I need to go into. So I'm going to go ahead and do my 3 extended single crochet. And then what we want to do to keep that sharp V shape, let's go ahead and take out the stitch marker, and in this space you see that first chain 3 and then the other one, and then there's a gap in between, which is the middle of this space. Go ahead and insert your hook right there, and we're just going to slip stitch right there, kind of bringing that together, and then go on to the next space, working up this side of the strap, doing the same thing. We're going to be doing 3 extended single crochet in every single space. So go ahead and finish all the way around the strap. When you get to the top, you're going to slip stitch to that first extended single crochet you made. You're going to tie off and weave in the loose ends, and then we're going to repeat for the other side. Okay, I've just finished the second side of the extended single crochet edge trimming. I've tied it off and woven in those loose ends on the underside. You can see how it gives a really nice, attractive edge finishing all the way around. The thing that's also nice about this is that it also gives some structure and support to that strap, kind of strengthens that, which is really nice. So this market bag has 2 design options. If you like the simplicity of the bag just as it is, then you are good to go. You're ready to go out and use this bag. It really makes a great handmade item to gift as well. But if you'd like to stick with me, we're going to be working on our contrasting stripes detail. It's going to be worked in this diagonal fashion, and it will wrap around the bag, and it really gives a unique aesthetic. So going forward, I use this I Love This Cotton yarn in khaki. You can use any colorway you like. I did switch. We started with the peaches and cream, but I really just liked the colorway of this khaki. And it's a little bit softer of a cotton yarn as well. For the contrasting stripe detail, we are going to size down to our size H hook, 5mm. And what we want to do is start right here. We're going to follow this line. You see this diagonal line by the edge of this bag? And then look at these first gaps. It makes this nice diagonal line. So we're not going to be starting here. We're actually going to go in the next one over. So this diagonal line created by these spaces, we're going to follow that. So I'm just going to kind of eyeball this all the way up, follow this to right here. So right here, this gap here, and we are going to be working almost like a post stitch. We're going to be working these stripes on the top, almost like surface work. So we're going to be going under right here. We're going to be working clusters in this diagonal fashion. So this is going to be where our first one goes, okay? So go ahead, put your hook through there, yarn over and pull through. And it seems tricky at first, but once you get the hang of it, it goes really fast. Okay, go ahead and chain 3. And then we're going to do 2 more clusters right there. And I find it really easy if you just pinch this kind of in half right here. So you can easily just go under that. Almost like I said, if you're working a post stitch. Okay, so that would be our first cluster right there. I'm going to open this up so you can see it a little bit better. Okay, right there. So the next cluster, we're going to be working right here. And so forth. We're going to be working a cluster just like we have the same double crochet clusters we've been working through the whole bag. The only difference is we're using a little bit smaller hook. We're working with the H hook, the 5mm. And sometimes it kind of is easy to get off track. You might accidentally jump and come down to here. No big deal, just tear it out. If you find marking these every once in a while with a stitch marker, if that helps you, go for it. And right here, don't worry about this. This is kind of flopping here. It's going to be fine. When we're done, we're going to come back and we're going to actually stitch it down. And then it'll be nice and secure. So again, we're going to be following this line. I'm just going to pinch that so I can access that really easily. And then I'm going to do another cluster right there. All right. Next one, pinch again. Just working my way down in that diagonal fashion. Okay, I'm going to open that up just so you can see. And when you do it, it'll kind of stick up like this. That's fine because you can just push them down. And that's the look we want. We don't want to lay flat, but don't worry about that. If you feel like they're staying straight up or coming towards you, just push them down. It'll give a nice look. And you can tell easily if you get off track because this is going to follow this nice edge diagonal line of that bag. I'm coming down to the bottom of my bag on that first stripe. I'm working one more cluster right here in this last space. And then you see the next one will be where it touches the base of the bag. So we're going to stop right there, right before it hits the base. So go ahead and trim off and pull through. So we're going to look at that first stripe. This is what it looks like. And so when you first see it, it's going to look like this. It's going to kind of stick up. It's going to look weird. No problem at all. You're actually just going to push these, just flatten it down, and it's going to look great. Just flatten that all the way down. You can also double check, make sure you didn't get off track anywhere. This nice diagonal line should follow this edge of the bag, come all the way down. And it's really, really neat because as you'll see, it'll start twisting around the bag. Especially when we do our stripes here, it'll twist around. It just gives a really neat look. So I'm going to push this down right here. And then I'm going to show you how to kind of tie these in. So we're going to start up here, the top. Kind of just had this loose yarn and kind of this edge of this cluster is kind of just flopping there. We don't want that. And really I should have left a little bit longer of a tail. If you can leave a little bit longer of a tail when you start, that really helps just sewing those in. Go ahead and thread your needle. And then what we want to do is just kind of bring this cluster so the top of it hits right at that edge. We don't want it overlapping, but right about there. It'll give a nice look. And we're just going to use that yarn tail and kind of just sew it right down. So I'm going to come up right there, and then I'm going to go through that top stitch of that cluster. Just kind of stitch that down. Just like that, secure it. And then I'll lay nice and flat, looks really clean. And then just turn to the back, tie it off, and then weave in those loose ends. Like I said, be kind to yourself, leave a little bit longer tail than I did. It'll just make it so much easier for you. We really want to make sure these are nice and secured. Okay, and cut that off, and then repeat the same thing with the bottom. Just come right to the bottom. I left a nice tail here, which is really helpful. And then I'm going to twist this a little bit. So same thing. We want this cluster to kind of come over about right there, right where it meets the base. So I'm just going to insert my needle right there. Come to the inside and pull through. And then I'll pull that cluster right over. You can kind of manipulate it to get the look you want. And then just tie that off and weave in those loose ends as well. All right, so a really nice looking stripe to start with. So starting the second stripe of the bag, you're going to come to the top where you started this first stripe. You can see this line, so we went into these spaces right here. We're going to skip every other. So we're not going to go into these spaces, and we are going to go into these. So yes, no, yes. I'm going to put my hook right here so you can kind of see. This is going to be the line of our next stripe. Go ahead and grab your yarn. So I'm going to come to the top right here. So sometimes it's a little tricky knowing where to start. So you can kind of look right here would be where we start, but we know we don't want to start there because our cluster would hang off the side of the bag. So we're going to come one down and start right here. So again, yes, no, yes. Usually getting started is the trickiest, and then once you have that going, it's really easy to stay on track. Okay. Go ahead and chain your 3, and then 2 more double crochet into that space. Okay, we have our first cluster, just like we did on our first row. So when we're done, we're going to use this yarn tail and we're going to stitch it down right there. So ideally the edge of these clusters are going to come up against the edge of that bag. We still want this trim showing. We don't want it hanging off. So that's how we know always where to start. So repeat that process. It's working your clusters all the way down in your diagonal fashion. So we're going to repeat this, same as before, super easy. And then when you're done, meet back up with me because we're going to come over and start the stripes over here. After I get you started on that, you should be good to go to just finish this bag, okay? So again, work that stripe all the way down, and I will catch up with you at the bottom, and we'll start one more stripe, and then we'll just keep working those stripes till our bag is complete. Okay, I've just finished that second stripe. Again, I'm just going to push down so it all goes in that direction. It's really great. Come to this top, and I'm going to do this one more time for you in case you didn't see it very well the first time. Go and thread that needle. I left a longer tail this time, so that's very helpful. And just pull your cluster. Really, we want our cluster to touch around right there before we hit this trim. We don't want it overlapping this trim, but right there. So I kind of just pull my cluster where I want it. And then looks like my yarn's coming from the back. Let me take it back where it should be. Okay. And then I'm going to come up right there, catch that stitch, and secure. Just go in through a few times. Doesn't need to be too much, just enough to tack it down really. There we go. And then same thing, just tie it off on the underside and weave in those loose ends. So I'm just really loving that stripe detail. I really like how when you get to the bottom, it kind of curves around. I think that looks so nice. So now I'm going to get you started up here, just so you don't get thrown off when you go to these sides. So they're not going to start way up here. They're going to start right here at this strap. We're going to follow that same diagonal pattern though. Okay, so remember what I said, every other. So right here, we can see we went in these spaces, kind of lift that. So this is going to be a no, this is going to be a yes. So yes, no, yes. And again, sometimes it can be tricky knowing right where to start. So I just follow that. So I know that we're not starting right here because if we did our first cluster here, it would be hanging off the side. So I just come down to the next one. That's how I usually find the easiest to know where to start. Again, I'm leaving a long tail to sew that down. Chain 3 and 2 more double crochet right into that space. Okay, and just follow that same pattern. Cluster all the way down in that diagonal fashion. Let's see. So when you're done, you'll stitch that down right about there, touching that edge finish. So just complete these, just keep repeating this pattern all the way around the bag. It's going to give a really nice, cool look. It's going to twist around and stitch these down. You can stitch them down as you go. You can do it at the end. Another option, just another design option, you know, you can do multiple contrasting colors if you want to switch it up, or if you want your stripes wider, you can do that. Just make sure you plan that out ahead, because you don't want to get to the end and find out, oh, now I have a big gap because they don't, you know, even out. So you might have 2 spaces between this one, and then it might end up with 3. So you definitely want to make sure that whatever you do, it's going to end evenly so it gives a nice uniform look. So go ahead and do that all the way around your bag, and we'll meet up at the very end. Okay, we finished all of our stripes, our contrasting stripes on our Granny Stitch Market bag. You can see how the stripes nicely twist around to the side of the bag. I really love that twisted look. I think it looks great. I did not choose to do the stripes detail on the strap. You certainly can if you want to. If you think it looks good or adds extra support, I just like the look of it without. So now your bag is completely done. It's ready to use, it's ready to gift. If you have any questions at all, please feel free to comment below. Thank you so much for joining me today. I hope you enjoyed this pattern tutorial. If you did, please give a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel, as I'll be adding more video tutorials as well as free patterns here soon.